Mom and Dad, just want you to know that I love you. Now I'm boarding the boat and it's going to be fun.
When people ask me why I chose to come to Korea, my answer is no. I didn't choose Korea. Korea chose me. And this is what I mean by that. In uni, my mission was to find a way to move abroad. In my first year after attending an au pair workshop, I wanted to be an au pair in America and maybe somehow end up in Hollywood. However, I could not afford the costs of the program, so I had to let that one go. In my second year, after attending a study abroad workshop and meeting one student who had done it, I wanted to study abroad in America. But I still could not afford it, so I had to let that one go too. I still never gave up though. Every chance I got, I looked for more ways to move. But money was always an obstacle, because even with teaching English, there were still costs involved, and I didn't want to bother my parents like that. In 2015, I had two main goals. One was to learn how to drive so I can get a driver's license, which I got. And the second one was to get a passport. The reason why I got a passport even though I was not going anywhere was because I thought if ever an opportunity presents itself, I want to be ready. 2016 was possibly one of the best years in my entire life. I had a full scholarship to do my master's, which gave me more money than I needed to do my studies. I also had a full-time job, which meant that I had plenty of cash flow. I worked at my former university. One day I decided to stay at work a little bit longer so that I can catch a free ride with the student shuttle. On my way to catch the shuttle, I passed one of the lecture halls and there was a pull-up banner, "Teach English in Korea." I stopped and read it and decided to pop in and listen to what they had to say. There was a man and a woman, but there were no students. I felt awkward, so I wanted to turn around and leave. But I decided to muster up the courage to ask the question, "Have you finished already?" They said, "No, we haven't even started yet, so come in, sit down." I hesitated a little bit, but decided to sit down. Soon, there were some students in the room and the guy did his presentation about how we could live our best lives in Korea. I've never heard of the EPIK program until that day. I spoke to the guy, Clifford Smith, and briefly asked him what were my chances. And he looked at me and said, "I think you're very suitable for this." I honestly thought he was just saying that because I was this very curious little person with a lot of questions in front of him. I thought, "Oh well, let me try anyways." The following Monday, I sent him my CV. He sent me the application forms. I began a mission. It felt like I was putting pieces of a puzzle together. It was scary. It was exciting. I still had to do my TEFL course. I wanted to do it in person because I felt like I would get the most out of it if I did it in person compared to online. Also because I didn't really trust myself to be a good enough teacher just by learning things online. I found a TEFL Institute, Bay Language Institute in Port Elizabeth. The problem was I was working full-time, and if I decided to take this course, I would have to take an entire month off work, which meant unpaid leave. That got me worried a bit because I didn't know how much money the whole process would cost. Then something happened. I worked at a university, but on the month that I had planned to do my TEFL course, the students began protesting. We were told to stay at home. That meant that I could take my TEFL course without having to take unpaid leave. The students protested for the entire month of October 2016. Therefore, I was able to finish my course without having to worry about how it impacted my job. I feel weird saying this, but thank you, Fizz My Fall. The day I had my EPIK interview was one of the hardest days ever. My interview was at 4:20 South African time, but I had no Wi-Fi at home. So I ended up having to go to my office. I stayed up there the whole night. Cliff called me around 3 a.m. to check if I was ready for the interview. I had my interview at 4:20, and then around 8:30 I had to go and do a presentation at the TEFL Academy. I had zero sleep. The day I got my interview results, I was at the Bay Language Institute. I had just finished doing a presentation and I was on my way to sit down. I looked at my phone and there was a message. I screamed and I started to cry. Everyone looked at me like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I said, "I'm fine. I just passed my interview." And I just started to cry because in that moment I realized that, wow, so this is really happening. I was really moving overseas. The entire year of 2016 felt like it was the universe, the stars aligning. It felt like the pieces of the puzzle were finally coming together. Getting the scholarship afforded me all the costs that were involved with the EPIK application process. Having a full-time job made it possible for me to do my interview without having to worry about internet issues. My decision to take the shuttle bus that day resulted in me meeting Cliff and finding out about the EPIK program. The students protesting for an entire month and a half made it possible for me to do my TEFL course without having to worry about my job. I knew nothing about Korea, but I was just so excited about finally going to live in a different country. I was excited about finally fulfilling that little farm girl's dream to move overseas. I still remember the feeling I got when I finally got to present my passport, getting that very first stamp, getting on that very first international flight, and stepping onto a new ground, a whole new country. Hearing a whole different language in a whole different culture. Things that a lot of people take for granted, those things still mean so much to me till this day. So everything that I know about Korea now, like Hangul, kimchi, K-pop, K-drama, are things that I learned once I stepped onto Korean soil. So no, I never chose Korea. The universe or Korea chose me.